videos that we make. It is Zoma Farm that is our farm. The first two letters are my wife's name, and the next two letters are my name. She's Zoe, I'm Mateus. And Zoe, right from the get-go, was very big on flowers on the farm. And I'll be honest, in the beginning I found it quite to be a bit of a nuisance, and I just didn't understand why. And then the first summer came along and I realized it just made our farm a little more enjoyable to be around. It just wasn't this mass-produced, flat field kind of approach. But then I started learning that there's actually a lot of benefits to flowers. And I'm not going to go into the whole spiel, but I've definitely noticed when people are asking me questions about how to deal with pest control and the likes, is how to deal with those naturally and preventatively instead of having to deal with chemicals when they come. And so you'll notice behind me, actually, we have one of our garden beds. And this is just one example of what is also beautiful, brings in pollinators, but also helps bring in a bunch of beneficials, because we plant a whole variety of things ranging from roses to beneficial flowers to herbs. And I'll give you a few shots of some examples of how we incorporate that into the farm, just not only in pretty beds like this, but also in inside of the beds. And at one point you might go, whoa, you're wasting space to grow flowers. Well, if you get pests, all of a sudden you realize how beneficial that can be. So I'll give you some examples. So again, I'm more the farmer, not so much the florist. Zoe is much more the specialist in this. I can only identify a few things. Some that are actually nice, like this is lovage here, which has a very celery-like taste to it. And we just have a whole variety of flowers for the sake of, like I said, the pollinators, but also for the sake of enjoying our farm. It really goes a long way to actually be able to, when you do take your day off, to look at something like that. Our house is just there, and to be able to look upon this is really enjoyable. So here's one example of just like a row of flowers, but now I'll show you some that are inside of the beds that we have. So you don't have to go all out when adding flowers to your beds. You can actually put in flowers just at the end of each row to help bring in those beneficials as well as those pollinators. And so that's what we've done here, is we just add them to the end. These are small beds. These are 20 by 20 feet. So adding flowers to the end of each one doesn't take up a huge footprint. It's also nice to be able to just add a variety of herbs. This is parsley, for example. And it just kind of end caps well, especially on our drip irrigation. I don't know about other people's, but we do have an issue where we do have a bit of overwatering. We get a little more leaking at the heads. And so the flowers especially like the little more water that they get at the ends. In this case, I believe these are lilies. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure someone will post. But again, just an example of using one of the beds to help install different flowers and features. And when we do the farm tours, we get a lot of compliments on it. But again, just brings in the different kinds of butterflies and the bees that we like. Right next to our greenhouse, we plant all of our herbs and flowers. And so you'll see here our borage is in full force. And it's been kind of a cool day. The bees aren't out as much as they normally are, but sometimes these guys are just going crazy over all of this borage. See, we got little helpers all over the place working around to help pollinate, especially since we have quite a few heirloom tomatoes and plants around here. Over here we have marigolds. These are one of the few flowers that I am very aware of. It's amazing when you're knee deep in the dirt, and marigolds don't have a big smell far away, but when you get up close, holy smokes, all of a sudden it's just this really blast of like cinnamon almost. So we plant marigolds at the end. I believe it brings parasitic wasps and a few others as far as beneficials to deal with disease control. So again, you don't have to go over the top with an entire row, but it is nice to add flowers. You'll kind of notice them all over the place to help give a little bit of color, enjoy your farm, and also help control pests.